Welcome, everybody. It's Leo. As always, I don't think I could come on and be somebody else. But we have Hugh today as well as Angelina, some two special guests. Go ahead and let them know what you guys do and what you got going on, basically.
You go first, Hugh.
Oh, I appreciate it. My name is Hugh. For those of you who don't follow me, I run a podcast called Blow the Whistle with my best friend Luke. Talk about everything Bay Area sports, heavy focus on our beloved San Francisco 49ers, even in this year that we've had to talk a lot of injuries and not as fun as last season. But at the end of the day, still faithful, love the Niners, love what Leo does, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm Angelina. I'm a reporter in the Central Valley here in Turlock. I do a lot of community news, but I also do sports, mainly high school, but I have covered a few Niner games. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen content that I've posted from there. And I'm just excited to be here and talk Niners, even though it's not under the best circumstances.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's what we thought the Niners were going to be this season or even close to that at all. I had them going to the NFC Championship, at least the NFC Championship, I should probably say. I feel silly because I wrote an article for SI stating the 49ers will not be victims of the Super Bowl hangover. I broke it down to only two teams over the past 11 years. It's kind of just overblown and like injuries, blah, blah, blah. But hey, look at me now. But let's go ahead and talk about it.
For this.
What's that?
We're going to blame you for this, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And this video is sponsored by 49GM. Hashtag use it on Twitter. It's blowing people's minds right now. But we're all here. We're gathered because we're going to talk the future of the 49ers as well as what the hell happened yesterday with this team. They went down 14-0 quick, had a muff punt, had a quarterback fumble. They had a chance in the end in the fourth quarter, tied 24-24. And it just like went downhill from there. Like you look at the final score being 41-33, looks like nothing close to what was actually going on. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Kind of, does Nick Mullins continue to be the quarterback of this football team after he's doing turnover after turnover after turnover? Fred Warner, he's the leader of this team, especially the leader of the defense. He spoke yesterday in his presser. They have to play more complementary football. That's stating we need to stop turning over the ball and putting our defense in bad situations. The wide receivers are exhausted. Kyle Shanahan's exhausted. And now the defense is being vocally that they're exhausted about the same situation. So do you think Kyle Shanahan is going to continue to go with Nick Mullins these last two games? Whoever wants to start.
I'll start. I'm going to be, I guess it depends on what kind of either fan or, someone watching the game that you are, but I'm going to say yes, because I am right now at this point, people might get mad at me, but I'm Team Tank. If they want to throw Mullins back out there, he's got I think 10 turnovers in the last 5 games. So if you're someone that's looking for them to lose these last games and get that better draft position, then Nick Mullins is your guy, to be honest. But, also from a positive standpoint, I would love to see CJ get some more reps. I think he deserves it. I don't know how much better that would be, but I mean, why not at this point?
Yeah, at this point, CJ Beathard's really on this roster because it was a COVID year and you needed insurance at the quarterback position in case, a team got sick, like the Broncos. And he knows the offense. So it made sense that he stayed. But beyond that, behind Jimmy Garoppolo and even with Jimmy Garoppolo, the Niners quarterback room is pretty shallow. But at this point, they're out of the playoffs. Like you said, it's kind of, I can never root for them to lose, but I'm not going to be mad when they lose because it's tank season. But at this point, kind of like what you were saying, Angie, maybe Nick Mullins is still the better option. But at this point, start CJ Beathard. At least, if he's going to be an NFL quarterback, give him a chance to play a couple games, get some tape out there. There's a good chance that neither of those guys are on the roster next year. So let CJ get some playing time, play some quality snaps, get some starts, and, put some film out there for other teams so he can maybe, continue his NFL journey. And I know that sounds like the soft take or kind of like the participation trophy of let everyone play. But We're not winning with Nick Mullins. He's not playing well at all. Yeah, maybe CJ Beathard isn't a better quarterback, but at this point, why not? I mean, he's coming in garbage time and he's looked okay, but give him a chance. If he sat on the bench for this long and we've got nothing to play for, why not?
And you have players like Warner essentially, begging for a change. It sounds like, if you want to assume that's kind of what he's throwing out there. So just for team morale to get something new out there and try something different. And, no team is going out there wanting to lose. So if Shanahan just wants to let the guys know that, hey, we're still going to try, let's try something different, that would be the good way to go.
Yeah, I'm on the page to where I think Kyle Shanahan should go with CJ Beathard. I think CJ Beathard's a lesser talent. I don't think he's a better quarterback than Nick Mullins, which is hard considering Mullins has 12 interceptions on the season alone. He hasn't even started 12 games, but he managed to throw 12 interceptions. Jimmy Garoppolo had 13 all of last season starting 16 games. So that just shows in a small sample size how much the turnovers are hurting the team. And it's strictly morale. Just have a new face in there. If CJ Beathard goes against the Arizona Cardinals and throws 2 interceptions, okay, it's a new face. You don't have the defense saying, what the hell? Why is this guy still there? Like, I'm pissed off. We're playing shutdown defense. We're playing top 5 level defense. Yesterday, Andy Dalton had a lower QBR than Nick Mullins. Andy Dalton had 0 interceptions. Nick Mullins had 2 interceptions. So that just shows how efficient the defense is playing right now. So continuing to throw Nick Mullins out for these last 2 games would just be like, hey, guys, I know you're playing top 5 level defense, and Nick Mullins is just hurting you guys very, very bad, and throw him out there. Defense will say, what the hell? Like, a lot of people are getting on Sherman saying he's checked out at the moment. Man, you may consider me checked out if I had to play cornerback with that offensive, productivity. I may have looked checked out as well. So it's soft spoken when saying that Sherman is checked out. Look at the quarterback. I'm surprised everybody's not checked out. I'm surprised they came back and tied it up 24-24 in the fourth quarter after the quarterback play was just awful. I'm surprised that they're getting some productivity.
Yeah, and we've seen players check out in the past too. I mean, Patrick Willis is a good example of he kept having issues with his foot. And then after the 2014 season, when Harbaugh was leaving and you saw the team was going downhill fast, he played through those injuries before because with Harbaugh in those years, they always had a shot at a championship. And then the second that, the Harbaugh drama really unraveled, the team went downhill really quick. Patrick Willis was like, okay, like I'm already hurt and we have no chance. I'm out. And I'm sure there was more to it than that.
Right.
But in a grand scheme of things, that's essentially why he retired. I'm not saying Richard Sherman's going to run off and retire, but he's battling injuries right now. He was out for most of the year. He is getting up there in age. And he's already basically said he's pretty much not coming back to the Niners because he says because of cap space. We don't know the real reasons, but we can infer. But for his own longevity, he might check out because why is he going to risk anything right now? This team has no chance of anything. He's already nursing some injuries that have hampered his career, and he wants to get another nice contract. So it's kind of hard to blame him. And like you were saying, Leo, it's just kind of a lazy take to say, oh, yeah, he's checked out, and then leave it at that.
Yeah. And I don't think it's cap space with Sherman as well.
Mm-hmm.
When does somebody come out and just say what it is when it comes to negotiations? Maybe someone that wants to leak it to get more money. It's not cap space with Sherman. They might have said, hey, this is our limit with what we're going to pay you and feel comfortable with considering your age and where our franchise is. 3 years ago, we needed you to be a cornerstone of the franchise, but now we have Armstead here. We have Fred Warner here. Well, Armstead was already there, but everybody knows the story. He wasn't the Armstead. We have expectations for him now. We have Fred Warner, who's the team captain. We have Dre Greenlaw, who's going to hold people manageable, as well as Jimmy Ward. I believe he could have the C on his chest next season instead of Richard Sherman. I think that's a guy who will lay out everything he has on the line. 49ers were not making the playoffs. It was very thin for them to make the playoffs. But the fact he's still laying out his body, he took himself out of the game. Like, that dude should be a captain on this team. And I think he's going to replace Sherman as that. So they don't need necessarily that captain anymore. They have more veterans. They're not just a young guy, a young team, young defense trying to rebuild. They're there. They have those stables. They have Nick Bosa that I didn't even mention. So they'll be fine. I think it's just more of that and not necessarily the cap space, because 49ers would make it work if he was part of the future, just like how they're going to make Trent Williams work this offseason. So let's go ahead and talk about yesterday. Who came to play? Who were you like, have a day, like, good for you. You are balling. Team lost, but good for you. You put it on tape.
Do you guys know who I'm going to say?
No.
I want to hear you say it, but I think I know who.
Okello.
There it is. Yep, I should have known.
Highest rated player on defense yesterday. He was 86.9. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I know he's been on Shanny's shit list for a while, so it was nice to see him, come out, have a good game. Shanahan even mentioned it after the game that he, was proud of him and he had a good game. So that was exciting for me, because when I heard that he was going to be playing yesterday, I said I just had a feeling that he was going to show up, and yeah, he did. I mean, it wasn't hard to be the highest rated defensive player yesterday when the other team puts up 40 points, but he did it.
Yeah, you took one of mine. I had a few. Spoon was definitely on there, and you hit the nail right on the head. I'm going to say Eric Armstead. He has taken a lot of flack this year. Yeah. Not to say it hasn't, it's been deserved to an extent. He does have a lot of, chips pushed against him with his talent around him being hurt. He's playing out of position, all of that. I'm of the belief that, if you're getting paid 80 plus million, you should still be productive regardless where you are on the D line, but that's here nor there. They used him more inside yesterday, and it showed. He had his best game of the year by far. 8 tackles, 2 for loss, and 2 sacks. He looked like the guy from last season that you wanted to give this big contract to. So he really stood out to me, more so from the sense that, not that, he exceeded expectations, because with his big contract, you should expect to get a game like that from him pretty much every week. But with all the flack he's taken this season, it was nice to see him show out and show that, hey, I'm still capable of doing what you paid me for. Now we just need to see it on a more consistent basis, which when Nick Bosa comes back next year, I'm pretty confident we will.
Yeah, he played to his ability, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just real quick, for whoever is plugged in on Twitter, I would recommend going on YouTube, just plugging in Tapped In Sports. You'll find us there on YouTube. I'd recommend that because I know Periscope freezes a ton. Hugh will be in a A1 rant, and then it can just freeze in the middle of the rant. That's how Periscope works. It kind of keeps you on your toes. So with YouTube, go ahead and plug us in there. If you wanted to go get a cold one out of the fridge, you could pause us and then come right back to us. Periscope doesn't let you do that. And then to back on the topic, isn't it funny that Eric Armstead has a good game when they play him in position? That's weird.
Who would have thought?
Weird how that works. And
yeah, keep him there.
A lot of it is like, oh my God, they traded away Buckner for this. Well, now we got to see what Armstead did so well last year once he was in his position. He played great football yesterday, and I'm glad that they finally put him more in a 3-tech. I don't blame the coaching staff on that at all, because they were thin at edge. And frankly, Deion Jordan just went MIA for a hot minute, to where it's, do you even want the guy out there on the field? Because it's basically, you're just putting a head count of 11, but you're putting 10 players out there. So that's what it felt like for about 5 weeks straight with Deion Jordan. But now he finally turned a curve. He's playing more productive. So that's allowing to put another player out there that kicks Eric Armstead inside. So he had a hell of a day yesterday. I think Spoon, good for him. I think moving forward, they should try to get 5 cornerbacks out there as much as possible. Because I look at it this aspect. You have Sherman, you're not going to bench him. You have Verrett. I'm sure he may be over his illness by the time the 49ers play Saturday. You have Mosley as well as K1. All 4 should be on the field. If you could get Okello out there as well and find a way to get 5 corners out there. If Jimmy Ward, he may not clear concussion protocol by Saturday because he was out pretty cold.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to assume that he clears it in one less day, basically, because they're not playing on Sunday. So if that's the case, get 5 corners out there. If Akilo can make one play, literally one play on Hopkins, and then the following week, one play on DK Metcalf, well, there may be a team. We see it in every single sport, just for those little sample sizes. There may be a team that say, hey, let's give him a 1-year, $7 million contract. If a team gives him a 1-year, $7 million contract, 49ers may get a 5th-round comp pick in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So why not try to get this guy on the field? That's how I see it. He played great yesterday. And right here as well, Drake Greenlaw. Fred Warner is LB1. He's all pro, but I think Greenlaw was the best linebacker on the field yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's closing speed and his sureness of tackling is fantastic. It's great. Just I saw a play yesterday because I'm spending the week here with my parents for the holidays, and so I got to watch the game with my dad, and I saw Greenlaw get the running back outside, make the tackle. You had no doubt in your mind. I told him, I don't think Quan Alexander gets that tackle. I see a scenario where Quan just overruns the angle, and then the guy just does one little cutback and goes upfield for another 10 yards.
Yeah.
So it gets me excited seeing the level of that Drake Greenlaw is playing, and he had a hell of a game yesterday because they're running back number 20. He's broken quite a few tackles this season, and he's a pretty good receiving back. He showed yesterday when he broke off that long run for a touchdown. He could break some tackles. He's a pretty good player. But in open field, Greenlaw did not let him go at all. He didn't have one missed tackle in open field, and that's hard to do in the NFL. It's hard to do at any level that you're playing for anybody. But doing that in the NFL, wow, like that guy's a stud. I'm telling you, he's the number 1 LB2 in the league. I'm going to say it. I know Tampa has some pretty good linebackers there. I know the Saints have some pretty good linebackers with Quan Alexander, but I'm putting my money on Drake Greenlaw and not Quan Alexander being the number 1 LB2 in the league.
Absolutely. And I think, it's easy for Dre to get overlooked a little when you're playing next to LB1 in Fred Warner. But honestly, and this is no knock on Fred, but if I needed one person on that 49er defense to make a tackle, it's Dre Greenlaw. He's easily one of the surest tacklers in the entire NFL. And he did play great. And I think, Angie and I were kind of highlighting players that don't usually get recognition or have played great lately. And Dre Greenlaw plays great almost every week, which is just so encouraging to see. So that's why he doesn't necessarily get as much love. Real quick, too, just because we gave a lot of love to the defense. This is someone that we give praise to a lot, but Brandon Ayuk, I'm honestly, maybe not this year, but in 2 or 3 years, I feel like I can confidently say he's going to be the best wide receiver out of this stacked class. Absolutely. You can put Chase Claypool over him this year. That's fine. You can put Justin Jefferson over him this year. That's fine. But in 2 or 3 years, with the way he's progressed throughout the year when he is a legit quarterback, give me Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I will say CeeDee Lamb looked good yesterday, though.
He did. He's the real deal. The class is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I will put Ayuk over Claypool now. Claypool is someone I liked coming out of the draft. He's kind of like that DK Metcalf to where people get scared because it makes so much sense. This makes so much sense, so maybe we shouldn't do it. And then Claypool falls in the draft much like DK did. He fell further than DK, but you see them in the NFL, and it's like, yeah, guys, it makes sense because he's really good at football. But Jefferson, he was my favorite wide receiver just because I saw how precise he is with his routes. And I say it every time because it gets me a little annoyed of what could have been. I see a lot of his route running very similar to Dante Pettis. Both are very good route runners. Arms are flailing, legs are flailing. They could go from any and up and down that snap to where you want them outside, you want them in the slot, wherever you want them, they could run routes from there. The difference is Justin Jefferson's a dog. He doesn't shy away from contact. He loves contact. He has that SEC mentality. I'm not trying to shade Dante Pettis. It's just I get a little down when I see Justin Jefferson putting up these numbers and getting in the end zone. It's like, damn, Dante, should have been you, man. Should have been you.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. And then we saw something for the first time yesterday is Justin School playing right guard. I know according to PFF, he gave up 6 pressures, which is by far the most on the team. But what's your thoughts on Justin School at right guard? Do you think it's something they should try out again? Like, that's his first game ever? Go ahead, talk about it, Angelina.
No, well, okay, I know it's hard to judge off one game, but I mean, like you said, 6 pressures. He was the lowest graded player almost on the entire team during that game, and I know he was out of position, but I don't know. It's really tough to say because before that, he wasn't great either, when he was in his actual position. 6.2% blown block percentage prior to yesterday's game. So it's like, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do with him. Just, I didn't like him at right guard. I know that much.
Yeah, I'm kind of in your boat. I mean, I give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. Like, they're throwing that dude at, every single position on the offensive line. And they're so thin at it this year. Like, he didn't play great. He reminds me of McGlinchey a little bit that, in the run game, he was decent. Like, he had a couple holds that brought back some nice Mostert runs. But I mean, he was getting after it in the run game, in the pass blocking, like the rest of the right side of the line. It's pretty abysmal compared to what it should be. And so I'm fine with rolling School the rest of the year. However, I don't want to see him starting at any spot on the offensive line in 2021. I'd be happy to keep him on the team. I think he's shown some versatility. He can be a plug and play guy in the future, but like the rest of the year, sure. I mean, what other options do they really have that are going to be significantly better at this point? But shout out to our guy, Matt Barr, who came through with the stat that the O-line didn't surrender a sack in the last 40 minutes of the game. So, there's a lot of nuance that can be construed from that with Mullins and, the pressures that he gave up. And was that just Nick Mullins being a statue and taking forever in the pocket? But clearly they held up decently well at the end. So he's not the long-term answer, but we can ride him out for the rest of the year. Just leave him at one position so he can at least get comfortable somewhere.
It's also tough because as soon as the line is doing well and not allowing sacks, then you have Nick Mullins just throwing interceptions left and right in the second half.
Yeah.
So, what can you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not to touch too much on the draft, but I would be so down for Lindstrom in round 2. Well, preferably Robert Saleh's post round 3 comp pick because I would kind of prefer a corner in round 2 and a quarterback in round 1. But yeah, Lindstrom, he's a hell of a prospect. But like what you guys were saying, and Badia hit it right here on the head, that what Brunskill is doing, because he looked bad in camp at center. He looked really bad in camp. But now you're seeing him playing center week after week after week, and he's kind of getting better. And to make you think, man, is he the center of the future of this team? So I think it's impressive that he's been able to adapt up and down that line. So that's great. But as far as Justin School goes, I would rather see McKivitz in there over School. School didn't do much at left tackle or right tackle when he's played the tackle position, and he just seems a step slow as a guard for me, to where I wouldn't really want him in there. I thought it was great by Dallas throwing Aldon Smith on a one-on-one matchup, just because since he's a step slow at guard, he's having to think out of position as well. Like, let's not take that out of the equation. Offensive line is very, very mental. It is a tough position, more than people think. You think you just throw hog bodies up there and say block and they do it. No, it's you have to think, because defense comes at you with different looks with the front seven. So, yeah, as Javi said right here, Tim Ryan suggested Brunny at center in 2021. Yeah, I think he's played himself into that starting role for 2021, and you can move off the bigger contracts. With School, he's just too slow. He doesn't win with technique. he wins more with his body, which his body isn't as solid like a Lincoln Tomlinson at the guard position. So it's just let him be the reserve tackle. It's okay. Not everybody plays every position. Same wide receivers. Some slot receivers can't play outside. That's fine. Some outside can't play slot. That's fine. So he's not a guard. I commend him for stepping up to the challenge. I commend Shanahan for trying it out because, hey, what if it did work wonders?
Yeah.
And now it's boom, you don't have to worry about that in the offseason because this guy was lights out. That wasn't the scenario. Okay, is McKivitz off the COVID roster? Is off the COVID protocols? Like, is he clear? Let's get him back in.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my take.
And real quick, I like that you brought up Laken Tomlinson too, because someone mentioned in the comments that moving school around has kind of hurt his development, and I agree with that. And Laken Tomlinson was kind of a work in progress too when he first got thrown in there, and he's just gotten better and better. Yeah, exactly. So, like, and we see Laken's, playing probably some of his best football this year. As poor as the right side of that offensive line has been, he and Trent Williams had really shored up that left side. So I completely agree with the notion that moving school around has hurt his development. And I'm hoping, whether it's free agency or in the draft, they get someone. Maybe it's McKivitz. Maybe McKivitz can grow into that role, like you were saying. But if they get someone, we just need someone who is a right guard and can play the right guard spot and not have to keep moving around. I know that with injuries, sometimes your hands are tied and you don't have a choice. But if we can get someone to just grow and develop in that spot, that would be so beneficial, not only for the player, but obviously for the offensive line of the Niners.
Absolutely. That's why I kind of say let's just get McKivitz back in there as soon as possible because he's played a few games there now. He has more experience than school has had his whole freaking career. So let's get McKivitz back in there, invested a 5th round pick in him. So that's where I would be at. Do you think we should move on from the O-line coach? No, I don't think O-line is such the problem. I think a lot of it has to do with quarterback reads, go ahead and drop what Matt Barr tweeted out. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, in the last 40 minutes of that Dallas game, they didn't surrender a single sack, and that's with, the biggest statue in the NFL, Nick Mullins, back there.
Exactly. So I don't think it's a O-line problem. I just think that the depth is so thin. You don't have your O-line that you thought you would have had, which would have been Garland, because I didn't have blanking on the name because I haven't seen him in over a year.
Richburg,
there you go.
Yeah.
So I was thinking Garland. I was thinking Brunskill. Those would be the guys. Brunskill had to switch over to center. Right guard has been a revolving door. So it's hard to blame coaching onto that because they've been good enough to win these football games. They've been good enough. Russell Wilson has a worse O-line, but he could extend the play. Kyler Murray has a by far worse O-line. He doesn't have no Trent Williams on his line right now. He has not even a Mike McGlinchey. He has no Lincoln Tomlinson on that offensive line. And he's the least sacked quarterback in the NFL. So I don't think it's much of an O-line problem. So let's go ahead and get to overreaction, underreaction time. K'Wan Williams is a bigger must sign than Kyle Juszczyk.
I'll kick this one off. That is, I'm going to make sure I'm doing this right. It's an underreaction because K'Wan Williams is absolutely a much bigger need to sign than Juice. And I'm a huge Juice guy. Like, love him, love the energy he brings.
Juice, mango juice, apple juice.
Oh, big OJ guy. Get that vitamin C. But no, so Juszczyk, obviously he does a lot for the offense, but he is so much more, I don't want to use the word expendable because that seems, a dig at him. He's much more replaceable, his position, than K'Wan is. K'Wan is such a security blanket out there at the nickel corner position. I can't think of one game where we were like, oh, K'Wan can't cover that guy or K'Wan's getting burned out there. He always handles his business. Plus, he's able to blitz off in those quarterback packages where he comes off the edge. And he's one of the best playmakers in the secondary that we've had in terms of turnovers. He forced the most fumbles for the team a year ago when they went to the Super Bowl. He does so much, and you can leave him out there on his island, and he takes care of business. The reason that I say Juice is replaceable is more so a testament to Shanahan. Juice is the best fullback in the NFL, hands down. I mean, he could play tight end, honestly. He's got some great hands. He can run some routes. But would anyone be surprised if they couldn't sign Juice and Kyle Shanahan went up to Ross Dwelly or Charlie Warner, one of these other tight ends that won't get a lot of play behind Kittle, and just say, hey, you want to learn how to play fullback? And he somehow turns them into that. Yeah. So I see Shanny working his magic to find a new Juice. I have way more confidence in that than I have in him, especially if we get a new defensive coordinator, getting a different K'Wan Williams.
Yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Every game we see K'Wan making a huge impact, and obviously Juszczyk does contribute. He helps in the run game, like I saw someone say, but you're only seeing a couple of moments at the most from him a game, whereas I feel like with K'Wan, he has more of an impact on the field. So for me, I would say that, yeah, that's an underreaction. Like, definitely sign K'Wan before you sign Hughes.
Yeah, I would be on that same side. And kind of like what Jordan said here is the Jamar Taylor injury. That kind of hurts it. Jamar Taylor wasn't as good as a blitzer from the nickel corner spot, but he held his own in coverage. He was fantastic in that role, and it was able to let K'Wan, hey, do your thing, get healthy. Jamar's playing out of his mind right now. And I know there was one play that happened on Jamar. It was the Dolphins game. And Jamar, I tweeted it out. I was like, K'Wan makes that play. Jamar texts me right after the game. He was like, hey, don't disrespect me like that, Leo. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, KK doesn't, because he calls him KK. He goes, KK doesn't make that play. And then he broke it down for me, and I was like, okay, fair enough. So I think I bring that up because, Hugh, you said you don't think that there's been a time to where you said, oh, somebody else makes that play instead of K'Wan. But you could say that about somebody else that's in there for K'Wan. He just does a lot. Yesterday, coming off the blitz, it just reminds you like how much he means to that team. Because now you're not having to send Fred Warner every single time. You're not having to do that. Now you could have K'Wan, who can disguise it a little more than a middle linebacker, go and come off the edge. And plus, he's not in the quarterback's vision. The quarterback's not looking straight at K'Wan when he blitzes. He's looking straight at Fred Warner when he blitzes. So there's the difference in that aspect as well. So I'm going to go with K'Wan, and a lot of it is Kyle's not getting his money's worth for Juszczyk. It's hard to design a lot of plays for fullbacks. He's done it more this year, I feel like, than he has past years. I think a lot of that, like we've seen Kyle Juszczyk get in the end zone plenty of times this year. Previously, before that, I remember him making a comment like, I always get stopped at the 1 yard line, which was pretty true. Yeah. This year, he's actually getting in.
Yeah, there's no pro too.
Yeah, you get George Kittle back. You have, say, Mostert for at least more than you have had this year. You have Debo more than you've had this year. Well, then now Juszczyk's amount of opportunity is lessened. So having those injuries have opened it up more for Juszczyk. Hopefully those injuries don't happen in 2021. Then, so I would go with K'Wan, especially if Robert Saleh is going to go to get a head coach job next year. One of the guys he's going to pound his fist on to re-sign is K'Wan. So that's some. And the nickel corner plays more than the Sam linebacker. Sam linebacker sees about 20 snaps, maybe 25 max snaps. The nickel corner sees more than that. So I would emphasize that position more than replacing Al-Shaair. Al-Shaair's been fine with his 20 or so snaps. Cool. Get K'Wan back, because I think Juszczyk, I would have to check his snap counts every single game, because I think he would be in that same like 25 role for he doesn't get much snaps. You just notice him more because he's making more plays than Al-Shaair. So, but he's around that same snap count. Josh Hockett, like Jordan said, he's an option. He looks pretty good. And he looked pretty good in training camp too. It's just he was not going to make this team with 2 fullbacks. It was not going to happen.
Yeah, real quick too. I love the point that you brought up that it's way easier to disguise K'Wan Williams coming off the edge in a blitz package than when you had to continually send, the best middle linebacker in the game over and over again. As we saw, the proof was in the pudding with Nick Mullins when he got decked yesterday on that defensive back blitz too. So that was a great point as well. But yeah, I'm all aboard the K'Wan train.
Okay, let's talk about someone that they should keep out there is Tarvarius Moore, former 3rd-round pick. He's under contract for next season. Should they keep him as a starter moving forward in 2021, despite his coverage struggles, his assignment struggles that he's been in the back end lately?
I'm gonna. I've
a question.
So, yes. Yeah, I'll say yes, because the potential's there. You see everything that makes him an NFL player. He's a playmaker. He had the pick in the Super Bowl, something that we haven't really seen from our safeties. Tart and Ward were one of the best tandems in the league, but if you get Tarvarius Moore in there, you get someone that's a little bit more of a playmaker than we maybe seen in the past. And when you get a healthy defensive line, like when you have Nick Bosa playing and you have Eric Armstead in position, and if they keep Kerry Hyder and the quarterback's only getting a fraction of the time to throw that he has this year, then Tarvarius Moore isn't going to even have the chance to have these lapses, these mental lapses in coverage, but he can still be that playmaker that we know he is. So pairing him next to Jimmy Ward, who's probably, to quote my guys at 4th and Goal again, one of the safest safeties in the league in terms of he doesn't get burned. He doesn't let people get behind him. And he's so, he's a sure tackler and good in coverage. Pairing that with someone that's a little more risky, is going to go out there and make plays. When you have this improved defensive line where they're not going to have to be worrying about the quarterback having as much time to throw, I think Tarvarius Moore can really shine. So keep playing him this year, keep getting him those reps, give him a full off season and see what you can do with him.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like you said, there's a lot of misses with him. I think like yesterday he gave up a really, really deep downfield pass. And then, a little bit later he had that tackle for loss for 11 yards. That was a huge play. So it's like there are those bright spots, and that he does have the potential. So I would like to see, let him finish out this season. These games, they matter, but, we can try out people that we want to see how they can do, and then give them the off season training camp, see what happens. Let them play.
Right. And also yesterday was the touchdown pass that a lot of people look at Sherman at, but yet that's Tarvarius Moore's zone. Like he's supposed to be sitting right there to either undercut that and intercept it, or at least get a PBU at least. So pass breakup. So, and then I look at that. They don't play Dallas very often. Okay, he doesn't see that offense too much, and they have legit receivers. And then the other game where he looked bad was the Buffalo Bills. Brian Dubal was in his bag. He's one of the best play callers in this league, and the fact he's elevated Josh Allen to this level is fantastic. Like, he's a really, really good offensive play caller. He knows when to call these plays as well. He was out of position. He was not in his assignment. But I look at that as, okay, he's not doing these against division teams. He played fantastic against the Rams. He played fantastic against Washington, who doesn't test downfield as much. And when they have Nick Bosa, they have more of a pass rush next season. They're not going to get tested downfield as much, like you were pointing to, Hugh. So I think he'll be fine. I think he's a willing tackler. He's not the biggest bodies in the world, but he's more of a willing tackler. I think he should put on more weight so that we see Jimmy Ward less of a in the box safety, so that they could switch out more, kind of like Tart and Jimmy Ward did, because Tart could also play the high safety role. I don't even need to really get in depth with his range. We all just remember the one-handed interception with Cam Newton. So they could do that. Tarvarius Moore just needs to put on more bulk, and then he could take some of that stress off of Jimmy Ward, who's built like a corner, not a strong safety, and or run more of a 2 high safety as well. That helps. We don't know what this defense is going to look like next year because Robert Saleh is going to move on. Are they going to go to 3-4? Are they going to 4-3? We'll figure that out because Vic Fangio's a 3-4. If they try to bring Wade Phillips, he's a 3-4. Or if they try to keep D'Amico Ryans, then cool, 4-3, single high safety. There's that unknown factor. But keep him in there. The kid can make plays. He's fast. Yes, Tampa 2. I would have loved more Tampa 2 this year because with Sherman in, because Sherman in cover 3 on 3rd and 8, comeback routes are open all day because Sherman's trying not to get beat deep. I would love Tampa 2. I actually spoke with Jamar Taylor about this. Why don't the 49ers run more Tampa 2? He said because Fred Warner's going to have to – he can't play as aggressive when it comes to the run game because he's going to have to be worried about dropping back more in coverage. That's what Tampa 2 does to your middle linebacker. And with a linebacker like Fred Warner, they didn't have to want him to have all those responsibilities. We heard it since his rookie year. They're trying to make Fred Warner think less. He's already a hell of a football player. He's one of the smart. He's like Richard Sherman as a middle linebacker. He is very, very smart. But they still want him to think less. They want him to play more on instincts than getting in his own head and basically outsmarting himself in situations. So in Tampa 2, that's their concerns on that is, well, we've been preaching we want him to think less. Why would we put him in a Tampa 2 situation? But I think Fred Warner's a lot more seasoned than his rookie year. I think he can run Tampa 2 because he is not a slow linebacker by any means. He's pretty fast. He could bang against the run. He could drop in coverage very well. I think he can manage Tampa 2. We'll see. But Tarvarius Moore, keeping him next year, he was your 3rd round pick. Keep him in there. Start him next year. If his market gets out, he's a lot better player than I can't believe I'm blanking on all these names right now.
It's been a long season.
Then it was supposed to be our starting safety back in 2018. Came out of the University of Miami, undrafted free or 7th round pick actually.
Colbert.
There you go. You've been money for me today.
I got you, bro. That's why you keep me here.
Yeah, he's been a better safety than Colbert by any means. He's been a by far better safety than Colbert. So keep him in there. He's not someone that's going to get replaced next year. Let him be your pick of the future. What does 4GM mean? Giant sap. You'll find out soon. All right, buddy? I promise you'll find out soon. I can't tell you yet. I have a feeling you may know by now, though.
It means stay tuned. Real quick on the safety conversation too. So all the things you guys have said, I'm all on board for with more. Looking at the list of 2021 free agents for this safety class, there are a lot of names that look really nice. I understand the Niners are, they're struggling with the cap in this upcoming year a little bit. And, Moore's obviously going to be the cheaper option. But I mean, when you see names like Malik Hooker, Carl Joseph, Marcus May, I know the chance of actually getting one of those guys is slim. And Moore, as someone who's growing and has the potential and is going to be cheap for them, it all makes sense. But man, even like a Marcus May paired with Jimmy Ward would be so much fun for this defense, especially if they did move down and run a more aggressive cover 2 with Nick Bosa back. It would be a lot of fun to watch.
Electric, some would say.
Absolutely.
So, some breaking news here. Trent Williams has made the Pro Bowl.
All right.
The virtual Pro Bowl. Kerry Hyder didn't as an edge rusher, which is
good for him.
Yeah, like the fact that Kerry Hyder was a possibility, like good for him. But Trent Williams made it. Tight end Evan Ingram?
Really?
And TJ Hawkinson.
Hawkinson had a good year, but did Evan Ingram really have that good of a year?
I don't know. This is the 1 year in the past 15 years I didn't play fantasy. So I know who's playing well but I don't know the exact numbers like I would if I was playing fantasy. But I don't feel like his name is someone I heard enough. Fred Warner.
Yeah, I mean, and
Fred
that dude in
Warner.
Green Bay, the
Oh,
tight
no,
end
I
in
got
Green Bay, yeah,
Pro Bowl
Fred
linebacker.
Warner, love
Yeah.
it.
He made the Pro Bowl, which is kind of weird because he's the only off-ball linebacker. Well, him and Bobby Wagner, so it's only two off-ball linebackers. The other ones are Khalil Mack, Zadarius Smith, and Jason Pierre-Paul. With 2 fingers, Jason Pierre-Paul made it. Good for him with his 2 fingers.
Zadarius Smith is a Pro Bowler up until he sees Raheem Mostert coming at him. So, I mean, good for him, but
that's true. And to round out this stream here, give your first round pick wish right now. Obviously, we don't know if they're going to pick 8, which they could go to 8, or we don't know if they're going to be picking further than they're currently sitting. We don't know if they're picking 15, 16, whatever it may be. What is your wish? There's also that up and move down factor. What is your wish currently? We already have one in with Caleb Farley. Whoever wants to go first.
All right. My guy, he's going to be available in the middle of round 1. He is from a university that the 49ers know little about. They also have a very successful BYU alum play quarterback for them. So first round pick, it's going to Wilson, and heads will roll. I just think it would be so magical. And like, I know a lot of people on the timeline want him. I know a lot of people on the timeline don't want him. I think if they took a quarterback in the first round, Twitter would light on fire. So kind of rooting for it. And I love Wilson. So I love to watch him play.
This is a wild
move, throw. He'll probably, I don't know. I think he'll do really well. We need someone that can move around.
Yeah, I want a quarterback. I would love Zach Wilson. I would love Trey Lance. A little bit unpopular among Niners Twitter. I like Mac Jones from Alabama too. Okay. Like if he slipped to the second round or we traded back into the first or whatever and we took him at quarterback, I like him. But obviously I would like a Trey Lance or Zach Wilson first. However, because I feel like quarterback is the obvious pick in the first round, if we're not going quarterback,
not going to happen.
I would love Patrick Surtain from Alabama, the corner. He is really, really good in zone coverage. I think he's, in my opinion, the best zone coverage corner in this draft. I think he would fit in, whether it's Saleh or someone else. I think he would fit right in this defense. You know, most of our corners in the secondary, we're going to have to re-sign them. Like most of these guys, we either re-sign them or they're gone this next year. So we need some more depth there. We're not going to be able to sign everyone as elite as if we kept this room together, even minus Sherman. So I think he would be a dominant player right away. And he seems like someone that can step in pretty early if need be. And then my draft crush is Travis Etienne. Taking him where the Niners are going to be would be too early. I know this is going to make people lose their mind because you're not supposed to draft a running back early and whatnot. But if they traded back or even, I know we're talking first round, but if it's early second, Travis Etienne and Kyle Shanahan would light the league on fire. Like that dude he would be in the 1,000 club as a rookie. 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. Yeah. I would put my house on it. The house that I don't actually own.
I saw people saying, don't spend any money at running back. Don't draft any running backs. It's all Wilson RB1 next year. What do you guys think about that?
No. Wilson's cool, but no. I like the guy. He's a cool guy. He's a humble guy.
He reminds me of, and this was one of my favorite players during the Harbaugh years. He's like a Kendall Hunter. Like he's a great change of pace back. Yeah, like I don't think he should be the every down guy. Like you had Frank Gore and Kendall Hunter, and that was a perfect 1-2 combo because Kendall Hunter was such a nice change of pace.
Yeah, the guy that just comes in there and is quick and light and nimble and yeah I agree.
So if you had a Travis Etienne as RB1, yeah, potentially. I mean, I know they still got Mostert too. But that three-headed monster of Wilson, Mostert, and ETN would be pretty brutal for opposing defenses.
Mostert looked good as always, just to me yesterday. He's
Yeah, like I said, I would be all down for a corner in round 2, but if ETN or what's the name from Alabama are there in round 2, I would say 100% take it, because in 2022, Jeff Wilson, unrestricted free agent. Raheem Mostert, unrestricted free agent. You just have JaMychal Hasty, basically, that you have the rights to, but he would be, I think, early rights restricted free agent, so he would be cheap. But JaMychal Hasty is not someone you're going to give 10 carries a game to. He's a cool, 8, maybe 7 carries max, change of pace, kind of like a Matt Breida role. If you expand it from that, then you're probably not healthy at the running back position. So round 1, I'm kind of open to Trey Lance if Zach Wilson gets taken way too early and the asking price to trade up is just too much. Because I think Trey Lance could do something with Kyle Shanahan in this way. He could run a read option. You have Raheem Mostert, you have Debo, you have Ayuk, you have Kittle. All those guys could run the ball on any given play, including Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan has a history of making the playoffs with more of a run-first offense and a rookie quarterback, Robert Griffin in Washington. With this 49ers defense, that means you're running the clock on offense. You're keeping the defense off the field. You're running the ball more. How is that significant when you run the ball more? Well, these offensive linemen are better at running than pass protection. All of them, including McGlinchey. McGlinchey is number 1 by PFF standards when it comes to run blocking, and then in pass protection, he is damn near the bottom.
the worst.
So with Wilson, he's more of a fragile size. He's not someone that you're going to want to carry the ball 10 times in a game. With Trey Lance, that boy's built. You could run him 10 times a game and have no issue about it. Run him 12 times a game and say, we need to lighten his load. No, he's fine. That he is built for that.
I like Wilson not so much to actually run the ball, but at least have someone that can get out of the pocket and make something happen when it seems like there is nothing. He does that a lot, and that's exciting.
Exactly. And if you get a mobile quarterback, you don't have to break the bank on O-line, because defensive linemen, when it's Nick Mullins sitting there, they can pin their ears back every play.
Yeah.
But when you have someone that has the threat of running, they have to worry about containment. If you're running the ball really well, they're not going to be, again, pinning their ears back like they would if they're able to stack the box and stop the run. And then you have a Nick Mullins or a CJ Beathard back there. It's not the same. When you have some guy that can break the pocket and brings that mobility to it, they're going to have to try to contain. They're not going to be able to get after him, and he'll have a cleaner pocket, even with a worse offensive line. So getting that mobile QB also helps you to not have to invest so much to make your offensive line, what the Cowboys were a few years ago, even if you just draft a Zach Wilson or a Trey Lance.
Yeah, and they did scout Zach Wilson. I hope they liked what they saw.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody not named John Lynch, which we could have the debate if John Lynch really has much of a decision with this pick compared to Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be Kyle Shanahan's decision mostly with this pick. So anyone not named John Lynch in the scouting department was in person watching Zach Wilson. So to answer your question there. And then obviously say they get Stafford, non-quarterback. I would probably go with what someone commented earlier if he's on the board would be Caleb Farley. Go ahead and get your cornerback of the future, because the only one you have the rights to next year is Emmanuel Mosley. K1, unrestricted. Brett, unrestricted. Sherman, he's gone. I don't even have to say what he is. And so with Caleb Farley, that would be smart because he is someone that has height. He has build. Why is that important? Oh, because DeAndre Hopkins and DK Metcalf are in your damn division. That's why it's important. Makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
that pick.
So I would be down for that. Not Sean Wade is cool. I think he's a hell of a player, but I don't know how many 50-50 balls can he break up from DeAndre Hopkins or DK Metcalf, because look at yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins, that's how they won the game yesterday, was on a 50-50 ball. I don't know if Sean Wade has the size to necessarily outleap or be at the same level as DeAndre Hopkins to break up that 50-50 ball, because Kyler Murray is someone that has no issue. That's 2 games now they won. They won on the Bills, and then they won yesterday on, well, the Bills was more like a 5% ball, not a 50-50 ball. So it's you need some corner with size on there on this team, preferably a cornerback that has potential, not a cornerback that we're going to say we're going to take him just because of his size and he's an undrafted free agent and we overput his expectations and then they don't get reached and people get mad when those expectations don't get reached, like some site out there that I may or may not be contracted with, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I like Farley a lot. I wonder, depending where the Niners end up, if he's going to be available where they pick. That's kind of why I really like Surtain from Alabama too, because he's kind of like what you were saying the Niners need. Like they need that long, rangy corner that can match up with these bigger wideouts. And then, you know, the one thing that stands out to me too is Surtain's anticipation in zone coverage. Like you were talking about earlier, when the Niners run a cover 3 on 3rd down and Sherman's playing 5 yards off and the curl route's always open. If you have a young guy that, you know, can anticipate in the zone a little better, it could pay dividends for this defense.
Yeah, see, like if Sherman bit on like a comeback route, so, you know, and then a fake going on vertical, and if he bit on that, I'd be like, okay, like that's fine. He's trying to get there, but he's just playing soft zone, soft cover 3. Which is smart for him because that means he's going to get paid because he's not giving up these yardages. Like all that's more limited. He's giving up a 9-yard catch compared to a 30, 40-yard catch. So I get it on his aspect while he's playing a soft cover 3 zone, but it is very frustrating because I may report on the team. I may talk about the team. But I am an absolute fan boy of the team. So I take that into account. So I hold everybody to a standard, but a realistic standard, like unlike the people I may be contracted or not contracted. But I appreciate you having you two on. Once again, go ahead and let them know where to find you on Twitter.
I am Sunshine with 3 E's on the Angie. It's pretty simple. And Sunshine's my middle name. I'm not some hippie freak. Well, I kind of am, but it's like literally my middle name. So, yeah, follow me, gang. Or don't. Go ahead.
No, you should absolutely follow her. She's a quality follow. So my handle's right there on the screen, at Hugh Tomasello. You can follow me for all my bad music takes and my bad sports takes. But please take a listen to my podcast. It's called Blow the Whistle. Everything Bay Area sports. Lots of 49ers content. If you're a Bay Area sports fan, beyond that, Sharks, Giants, Warriors, A's, we talk about all of it. It's me and my best friend goofing around. Go give us a listen. You can also follow us on social at Blow the Whistle P on Twitter.
I highly recommend it. It's entertaining. You are 40 minutes in and you don't realize you're 40 minutes in and you thought you were 5 minutes in. So it's very entertaining. If you got to drive, go ahead and just plug it in your Bluetooth. Take a listen. I do it all the time if you're driving to or from work, or if you just are driving 40 minutes because you want to get out of the house, whatever it is. If you're cleaning, go ahead and take a listen to it. It is fantastic. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you sometime this week.